make 3 or 4 points because, again, as I shared, I was coming at this from the America's Most Wanted perspective. I mean, I had worked so many of those high-profile manhunts. That's the way my mind was working as I watched that investigation. I wasn't working this case. I was like pitching a television series about something completely different, but I was watching it like a news junkie. And
Mhm.
first of all, as one of the FBI agent, remember, this is a case which, if you're going to credit the official story is Timothy McVeigh built the bomb, masterminded the plot, and delivered the bomb by himself. That's what I imagine Wikipedia will tell you today, or the FBI website. Um, so immediately, 24 eyewitnesses on the ground in Oklahoma City reported to the FBI that they saw 2 men in the Ryder truck deliver the bomb, get out of the truck, exit the truck, leave the scene, and then the building exploded. So years later, when the case came under pressure, one of the top FBI commanders said, this is really hard to explain. These are ordinary people that morning on the ground, on the route, on the way as the truck approached the Mura building. 24 of them told the FBI there were 2 men in the truck. By the time they got to trial, they were just talking about 1 man in the truck.
Right.
Then top journalists began reporting that the FBI had surveillance videotape of that scene I just described. The yellow Ryder truck rolling down the road, parking in front of the Mura building, 2 men in the truck, exit the truck, and the bomb goes off. The FBI never allowed the American public to see that movie. The next thing that happens, again, within the bounds of the first year of the investigation, and I find this most shocking, is that a member of the federal grand jury, and you know how those are secret, behind closed doors affairs. His name was Hoppy Heidelberg. He was a horse breeder. He was so upset about what was going on behind closed doors that he went rogue. He started leaking to the Daily Oklahoman. He complained to his congressman, and eventually he wrote a letter to the judge. And in that letter, he said the federal prosecutors, he accused them of rigging the grand jury. This is the all-important grand jury that delivered the indictment of McVeigh and Nichols. And he said they're hiding the identity of John Doe too. And I won't go into all the details. Hope everyone wants to read Blowback after hearing this,
Yes.
incredible twists and turns of how this investigation went in its first year. One more beat of the story, if you're still going to stick with the official story, is that it turned out it was revealed in the summer, right around the time the indictments came in against McVeigh and Nichols. And by the way, that grand jury was so concerned about this John Doe 2 character who blows the lone wolf theory completely out of the water. They were so concerned about him that they indicted not just Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols, but also, quote unquote, others unknown. So, and then finally, before the year played out, that summer, it turned out, and the FBI and the medical examiner had kept this secret for 2.5 months. Turned out that the recovery team at the Mura building had found a severed human leg. I mean, this is an X-Files detail of this investigation. A severed human leg that was never matched to any known victim.
What?
So, and Stephen Jones, Timothy McVeigh's attorney, literally traveled transatlantic to Ireland with his briefcase chained to his wrist because the judge had uh, authorized him to carry these photographs of all the victims of the bombing. And the Northern Ireland terror expert concluded that this leg was probably or possibly one of the bombers, and later came to trial and testified to that effect. And the defense of Timothy McVeigh probably had its strongest moment. It wasn't enough, but there you have a you know a series of contradictions that are very hard to explain in under the umbrella of lone wolf terror.
Why wouldn't Timothy McVeigh say there was someone else with him?
Why wouldn't he?
Yeah, why if he's going to trial and there's the idea is being presented that it wasn't just him, he had a co-conspirator, and this is something that could lessen his time or get him out of the death penalty or whatever, why
Mhm,
wouldn't
mhm.
he
That's
say
a
that?
great question, and what members of the patriot movement would say is that did say, one of them, he wanted to be the patriot. He wanted to be remembered as the author of that event. And for him to turn around and start naming names, it wasn't going to save him, first of all. And second, it was going to diminish his profile because he was proud of the fact that he did this alone. But this would be this is a good segue into the other potential here. I'm this has to be just a potential because Timothy McVeigh himself is the source. But when I went inside maximum security prisons, I'm the only journalist to interview Terry Nichols. Now, Nichols was convicted as McVeigh's co-conspirator, but Nichols was not John Doe 2. He was not in Oklahoma City on April 19. He looked nothing like what the 24 witnesses described John Doe 2 as, a kind of like dark-haired bodybuilder type with a tattoo. That's not Terry Nichols. But Nichols and then another of the prisoners I interviewed, David Paul Hammer, a prison author, and Timothy McVeigh's cellmate, cell block mate on death row, who interviewed McVeigh for 23 months before the Oklahoma City bombing. Both those interviews, both those prisoners told me that McVeigh admitted to them, to Terry Nichols before the bombing, to David Hammer after the bombing, that he didn't act in the Oklahoma City bombing as a terrorist. He acted as a federal undercover operative. And